The political landscape in Britain is nothing short of a war zone, and as the chaos continues to unfold, the real question is, who will emerge victorious? Right now, it's hard to deny the seismic shift that's taking place, one that could reshape the entire trajectory of British politics. At the heart of this upheaval stands Nigel Farage and his newly invigorated Reform Party. The polls are no longer laughing at his ambitions. If anything, the political elite should be terrified. In a recent poll by YouGov, Reform surged to 25%, edging out Labour, which now trails behind at 24%. Let that sink in for a moment. A party once dismissed as a fringe element is now leading the pack, while Labour is left scrambling to reclaim relevance. The Tories? They are sitting in third place, a hollow shell of a party struggling to define itself. This isn't just a shift, it's a political earthquake. The Westminster bubble is visibly shaken by this, and Labour's reaction is nothing short of desperate. The party that once prided itself on being the voice of the working class is now playing catch-up, and their tactics are increasingly incoherent. Labour MPs are now talking about cracking down on both legal and illegal migration, parroting policies they once vilified as extreme and far-right. Suddenly, they are trying to outdo Farage at his own game. The irony is rich. The very same MPs who spent years deriding Farage and his politics as dangerous now seem eager to follow in his footsteps. But there's one glaring problem. Farage knows exactly how to tap into the political dissatisfaction that Labour now finds itself on the wrong side of. What Labour fails to realise is that simply mimicking Farage's talking points isn't a strategy, it's a surrender. By shifting rightward, they risk alienating their core base while simultaneously legitimising the very ideology they spent years railing against. They are playing directly into Farage's hands, making his platform look more attractive by comparison. Farage has mastered the art of positioning himself as the ultimate anti-establishment figure, and the more Labour reacts with panic and weak jabs, the stronger he looks. Now, let's talk about the NHS, the crown jewel of British politics. Labour is trying to weaponize the NHS against Farage, pointing to his past comments about insurance-based healthcare systems. It's a classic Labour move, trying to scare the public into believing that Farage will privatise the NHS. But here's the harsh truth. Voters are already disillusioned with the NHS. Long waiting times, overwhelmed hospitals, and an overstretched workforce have led to widespread frustration. Labour's desperate attempt to use the NHS as a political cudgel against Farage may just fall flat. After all, how can they convince voters to defend an institution that feels like it's collapsing under its own weight? But Farage, the political veteran, isn't falling for it. He knows exactly how to deflect these attacks. When Labour tried to call him out on the NHS, he hit back with a simple yet effective rebuttal. He supports keeping the NHS free at the point of delivery. Farage knows that the more Labour tries to paint him as a threat to the NHS, the more they expose their own weaknesses. People are tired of the same old rhetoric, the same old promises. They are searching for something real, something that speaks to their frustrations. And that's where Farage thrives. He connects with the disillusioned voter, the one who feels abandoned by the political establishment, the one who's sick of hearing the same tired excuses from the main parties. Farage may not have a detailed policy platform, but he's a master of rhetoric, a political showman who understands how to craft a narrative that resonates with voters. His straight-talking, no-nonsense style cuts through the political noise. In a time when the electorate is fed up with career politicians, Farage is offering an alternative that feels fresh, no matter how many people criticize it. Meanwhile, Labour's response is a confused mess. They are no longer the party of the working class. They are a party desperate to cling to relevance. They seem intent on fighting the last battle, while Farage is busy fighting the one that matters. Labour's attempts to discredit Farage are only making him stronger, amplifying his image as the outsider fighting against the political elite. Farage is playing the long game, and so far, it's paying off. But let's not kid ourselves. Farage isn't universally loved. Many still view him with suspicion. His past, particularly his association with Brexit and his flirtations with controversial policies, still haunts him. But here's the thing. Farage isn't trying to win everyone over. He knows that there's a large section of the electorate that's fed up with the mainstream parties and willing to entertain his message, flaws and all. In a political system where the electorate is increasingly fragmented, Farage is capitalizing on a hunger for change. Labour, on the other hand, is running scared. They've lost touch with the very people they once claimed to represent. They've failed to offer a coherent vision for the future, and now they are left reacting to every shift in the political landscape. They may be able to undermine Farage in the short term, but they are not addressing the underlying problem. Voters feel abandoned by the system. And until Labour can offer something more than fear-mongering and half-hearted policy shifts, they'll continue to lose ground to reform. In the end, this isn't just a political battle, it's a battle for the soul of British democracy. Farage is capitalising on the growing distrust in the establishment, while Labour is fumbling through its own internal contradictions. If they don't act quickly, they'll find themselves irrelevant, a relic of a past that no longer speaks to the concerns of the people. And as much as the political elite might hate to admit it, Farage is gaining ground, and he's not backing down.